again, our enjoyment of going to Woodbine and the industry itself in watching the horses run. But at some point, we weren't sure when and how that was going to happen. Once again, you have to do your due diligence, look at the numbers, think about the safety, as well as what you're losing in terms of the business of horse racing. So to find out more, you have to go to the man, and that man is Jim Lawson, and he joins us here this morning. Good morning, Jim.
Morning. How are you guys this morning?
Well, we're very good, and we're very excited to have you here this morning because I'm hoping for good news. Now, I know we're not going to get the legalized single event betting this morning, correct? You're not going to tell me that I'm allowed to hang out with Jamie Dykstra and bet on Ohio versus Central Michigan on a Wednesday night yet. Is that what you're telling me?
Can't deliver that. Not even on your Canadian Football League yet.
No. See,
don't get me started on that.
Yeah, we're squirming on that one. That one, I just, boy, that's tough. But I do understand that you could have some good news for us this morning, however.
Well, listen, everything comes with a big caution, of course, guys, but it's somewhat dependent on CBC News last night getting word that the Premier is going to do a further easing today, or at least announce plans. I'm not sure what form it will exactly take. I think what they're looking at is contemplating what phase one of the reopening will look like. Now, as for the date of phase one, we don't know. I'm sure they have it somewhat tied to COVID trends, but in any event, it certainly looks like they're going to discuss more openly today what phase one, and what we're hearing mostly through the CBC is that it will include sports without spectators, and specifically horse racing. So, man, that would be great news, as you said.
Jim, is there, according to the report on CBC, it's early June. Is this correct? Somewhere around the 5th of June. Is that what they're hoping to target right now? Or is that just kind of hearsay as we speak?
Yeah, I couldn't say, David. Let's hope. That would be great for us. We have carefully planned around a mid-June dates, and with the hope that if we can get earlier, we'll be in shape to do it. And mostly that's working with the Alcohol and Gaming Commission, and also working with the horse people to make sure we've got horses that are fit and ready to go. And at this stage, we could run in early June. I'm assured by both horse people's associations that we've got fit horses ready to go for Mohawk and for Woodbine.
Yeah, and Jim, that's an interesting aspect of what you had just mentioned, because a lot of people will try to understand. You just can't open up tomorrow and the horses, they're athletes. It's like the notion that the NHL players are going to be told they can step on the ice, that you would see this ability to go on. It takes time. They're in that framework. How long is that for a horse that has, or horses, to legitimately go out and have what is this, close to a normal circumstance in a race? How many weeks would that take? Or is it weeks?
Yeah, no, I measure it in terms of months. I think it's likely closer to 3 months from horses are turned out. For health reasons more than anything, it's good to let them get outside and then they come back to the track, and they slowly come back and gallop and jog and work up to a couple miles a day, and then ultimately they go into more speed workouts. And that's 2 or 3 months, but we've been open since the end of February. A lot of the horses that are on the grounds now have been down south in training. We're opening timed workouts tomorrow. We've been allowing them to do speed workouts since the beginning of May. So that's 6 full weeks of speed workouts, and more than anything, it's not just a performance thing, and much like athletes, it's a safety thing. You've got to be fit and ready to do your job, or you're going to hurt yourself. And so that's a primary consideration for us and for our horse people, is safety, and we want to make sure these horses are ready to go, and they will be.
On the lines of safety, Jim, also, with a lot of the openings that we see across the board at different places, safety precautions obviously in place at Woodbine as well. Have you guys kind of figured out what you want to do safety-wise? We already know that there will not be a crowd per se, but there are still a ton of workers, and I'm guessing measures have to be taken with the different barns and so forth.
Yeah, great question, Dave. We've been working on that for many weeks now, and have submitted safety procedures and protocols to the Alcohol and Gaming Commission. Those have been also passed along by me to the OLG, who are dealing with the Ministry of Finance. I had a discussion this weekend with the Minister of Sport, Lisa McLeod, and she was interested in the protocols and safety procedures. So we've got everyone working together on this. I can say that government has been great and very supportive of this, and it helps your credibility a lot when they ask the questions and you have the answers. We've done the homework. We've had a medical consultant on staff, a doctor from the Etobicoke General on staff helping us. We've worked with the OLG's medical consultant. And when you're looking to get help from people, credibility is important. And we've earned that credibility. We've been operating that backstretch now for over 2 months, and the safety procedures have been in place, and it's worked well. So that's the good news.
We're in conversation with Jim Lawson here on Newstalk Sauga 960. He is the CEO of Woodbine Entertainment. Also, when you realize the job that he has, that means there's a lot of people underneath Jim Lawson that very much needed to hear this news. And I would think, Jim, for those support staff and the thousands, and I mean the thousands of people that are in this industry, this has to be somewhat of a good news scenario for them.
I would think and hope a fantastic news snenario where everyone in the industry is anxious to get going. It's been a very difficult spell, as we've talked about before. These people need racing. They need purse money to keep going. And there's just no revenue out there right now. And so this is fantastic news. It's what these people want to do. They have their horses ready. They're excited, and we've done our best to communicate with them and given them the reasons why we've been doing what we've been doing and how the planning we've been doing. So I think it's been helpful for us to communicate weekly to them, which I've been doing. I've had 2 open online sessions with the industry to explain what we've been doing. But I think we're now at the point where we've had to do some planning. I had a session with them earlier this week, and I think they took a lot of comfort just from the fact that we had done the detailed planning we've done. And if it looks like we can open up in June, and there's some good news today, the backstretch at Woodbine and the entire standardbred community in this province will be thrilled.
Jim, speaking of planning and all that, with as soon as you say the month of June, there's a lot of things that come to my mind personally, especially on what would be June the 27th at Woodbine with the Queen's Plate. Do we have any update on that? If you guys were to open, would that date be moved? I'm assuming that might be a little too quick to do a Queen's Plate, and you might hope to actually kind of figure out plans for that. I'm guessing these plans, knowing you, these plans have probably been in the works for the last couple of months.
David, you guys are good pals of mine. So listen, you're going to see the Canadian Oaks and the Queen's Plate Trial, another face-off mid-August, and we're not going to run the Queen's Plate on the same day as the Kentucky Derby, which is September the 5th, but we might run it shortly after that. So,
ladies and gentlemen, I know this is just a single man clapping, but there we go. That's what we wanted to hear. That's what we wanted. Yeah, absolutely. That's fantastic.
Well, it's an important date. I think it's one of
the oldest date.
Ontario's one of Canada's greatest parties, and yeah, it's just a long list of disappointments that it won't be run when it is. But guess what? Welcome to the club, right?
It's an important event, and let me just say, guys, some of the thinking on September and not to get ahead of ourselves, but we're hoping whether it's August or September, there is some possibility with physical distancing, because I think we'll still be in that environment with physical distancing. We'll have some spectators, certainly some press, I'm hoping for, guys. And listen, wouldn't it be a shame if you had a horse in the Queen's Plate for the first time in your life and you couldn't go and watch the horse? So we're keeping that in mind in our planning. We're hoping that there is some sort of physical distancing. We have 700 acres of land there, and I'm hoping we can find a way to get 400, 500, 1,000 people onto the 700 acres to let them participate in the Queen's Plate. So we'll see, but let's not get ahead of ourselves. But that's the thinking.
Well, and I have to say this too. This is, and we're not a very political show, but I think that the way that the provincial government and that Doug Ford has gone through his, and I do think it is a due diligence on safety first on the reopening. I don't think where we've seen south of the border and other places where I think they really did jump the gun. I understand the need for revenue and people to make a living. We all do. I mean, there's so many that have suffered, but I think in the way that it has unfolded, that the reopening has been balanced with its need to be safe first. I don't have a problem with the way this is unfolded. Do you?
Hey, Mike, listen, I think Doug's done a marvelous job. I mean, I think he has, we know him well because he's our MPP, and, I've worked with him for years, and before that, his brother. They're very close to, we're very close to Ford Nation, or Ford Nation has their parties at Woodbine. So we know him well, and listen, I'm not just saying this because he's a local guy for us, but he has done a great job, and I will say I think he's exceeded people's expectations.
I do too.
I really do. He's done the right thing, and I mentioned credibility earlier. He has credibility with the people now too. So as he begins to open up the economy here, people know that he's being very thoughtful about it, and so it really helps. And I think he's been very smart about it, because as he starts to take these moves, he's got the credibility. Even opening up horse racing, I would say, people can be critical of that. And the fact that his government has thought these things through, he's earned the credibility. And I say it many times in terms of the discussions I've had with government and with press. I've said, we're singing from the same song sheet as the Premier. We are not getting ahead of ourselves. We are being prudent. We want to do the right thing. And I think he's done a great job. So I'm glad you mentioned that, because he's earned the credibility and respect of people. And I think they're supportive of what he's doing.
I think the adversity has really brought out the true colors in the kind of man that he is. I mean, we've known him for a while too. And I just think that, some people take action, others are just all talk. And I think when the man takes his pickup truck, goes to the border to pick up PPE to bring it back, that wasn't a photo op. I mean, that was not a photo op. That was Doug Ford being really who he is. And I think this has brought out the best in him.
Absolutely. As you may know, I'm chairman of Trust 15, which is a local community group helping youth in the Rexdale, Etobicoke area. And, Doug has been a huge supporter of that group and looks after the youth and takes them up to his cottage. And we've had football games up there, and he's very genuine guy. And I think people are learning that about him.
Okay, weird thing about the Ford family. Gino Retta was the football coach for both Doug and Rob, or as he calls them, Dougie and Robbie. So I looked at Gino and said, "How old are you? What are you, a vampire? What do you mean you were their football coach?" He said, "Yeah, he was their football coach when they were kids." Look, and don't get me started on football, because I'm going to start crying, because if we don't get a CFL season, I don't know what Dave and I will do. I mean, obviously your ties to it, your own family legacy to the CFL. I don't know what they're going to do. I don't know how the government's going to respond. I understand why they ask for money, because I think it is an institution and I think it has to be protected. But I am very nervous. Although the BC Lions are going to open up their facility in Surrey. This is what I understand from the provincial government. So never say never. And if there's ever an example of that, it is the CFL, which many people have thought it was going to go away. And I got news for you. Yeah, I don't think it ever will. I know this is very tough, but it is a very resilient league, as you know.
Yeah. A lot happens in the last 2 or 3 minutes in the CFL, right?
Literally, yes.
Absolutely. Jim, thank you so much for the time. Always great catching up with you. It was
Guys,
certainly good news.
Love being on your show. Let's do it again in a little while. And when we get on again, hopefully we'll be talking about the first day of racing.
Absolutely. Thanks, Jim.
Awesome.
You take care.
Thanks,
Take care
Jim.
of yourself. All the best.
That is Jim Lawson. He's the CEO